Well, good morning, good afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in the world today. Welcome to episode 22 of A Voice from the Ever Change. I'll say a few words before we get started, a little bit about myself. I've been practicing meditation for close to 35 years now. Trained formally in the Japanese Zen tradition, also Korean Zen, but only very slightly. My introduction to meditation was mostly through Korean Zen. Then into Japanese Zen, Soto and Rinzai schools of Japanese Zen, and went back and forth from the Kaju tradition in Tibetan Buddhism, meditation, and Zen. Really fluctuated back and forth between those schools for many years, from about 2004 till about 2013. And now I'm pretty much only studying Tibetan Buddhist meditation techniques since 2013. I've pretty much committed myself to that study. I've been teaching formally since 2009. But at the same time, I was working as a professional musician. But as mindfulness and as meditation became widely accepted in culture, I've slowly been able to put the music down, so to speak, put the instrument away. And I've been only teaching, supporting myself through my teaching and writing since 2016, for about 4 years now. I've been primarily only teaching. I sometimes get asked if I miss playing music. Honestly, I don't. I love teaching so very, very much. And it's interesting, when I'm teaching, particularly when I get asked Q&A, but even in this setting, I've noticed, when I'm teaching, it's very similar to improvising. So it's very similar to a jazz setting. I have to go to that silent space and bring forth the teachings. Very similarly to when a musician is improvising, they go to that silent space inside and bring forth the notes through their instrument, whether it's bass or I played the double bass or piano. In a jazz setting, it's very much that way. A composer would go to that same silent space and then hear the notes and then write the notes in the composition. Many artists tap into that same silent space before they paint or while they're painting. When I write, I tap into that space. So it is very similar, and I feel that I feed that need, that creative need, when I'm teaching. So I don't miss playing anymore. I really haven't missed playing ever since I stopped. Not yet, anyway. We'll see. Maybe someday. But okay, so on to A Voice from the Ever Change. So here we are, episode 22. And in this episode, I am reading from the Equanimity chapter, which is chapter 4. And this is the second poem, so anyone who's following along. And funny story, as I was, preparing today's episode, I realized that a whole chapter had been left out of the book. I have a chapter on change and impermanence, which is actually the heart of the ever change, is about change and impermanence. So I do have a chapter that was left out. So if anybody here is tuning in and you received a PDF, send me a message. Say, hey, I'd love the updated version of the PDF, and I'm happy to send those out as well. So, and that's a good chapter. It's actually my favorite. I don't know how it got left out, but these things happen. Okay, I do love this poem as well, and the commentary. Now, in this poem and commentary, I refer to a particular meditation practice that is designed to allow one to rest in emotional pain or physical pain, primarily emotional pain. Could be emotional desires as well, cravings, longings. And so this is quite a delicate practice. And there are guided meditations on my website, www.suchsweetthunder.org. All of the guided meditations there are for free. Go to the meditation page on working with challenging emotions if you're interested in taking up a practice that I'm going to describe here in this commentary. Also, there's an article written on my that's on as well under published articles page on the Such Sweet Thunder site. The article is called Dealing with Challenging Emotions or Working with Challenging Emotions. In that article, I outline the practice in a much less poetic form, a much more easy to follow form if you're interested again in practicing this way. If you are interested in practicing this way, I do recommend at least having access to a teacher. You do have access to me. If you have any questions, you can send those questions along. I'm happy to answer those as well. And if you don't want those questions answered in public, you want to remain private, you can message me and let me know, and I won't answer them in this format. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say. So I'll ring the bell. I'll guide us into silence. And then in that silence that we cultivate through the meditation, I'll offer up a poem from the book A Voice from the Ever-Change, and then a commentary also from the same book. So the idea is to allow the poem and the commentary to serve as an extension of the guided meditation. So allowing the words to the poem, the words to the commentary, to guide your awareness wherever it may want to go. Enjoy. So allowing the body, mind, and heart to settle. Just coming into this present moment experience. Noticing the breath entering and leaving the nose. There might be a cool or perhaps a dry sensation at the nostrils, or you might notice the temperature changing from cooler to warmer as you inhale and exhale. Noticing the breath as it touches the back of the throat. There might be a tingling or a dry sensation there. Noticing the rib cage expanding and contracting with each breath. You might notice sensations of clothing moving to adjust with the rising and falling of the abdomen, chest, and shoulders. And you might also notice the back moving out as you breathe in and in as you breathe out. And perhaps noticing the body straightening up slightly on the in-breath and leaning forward slightly on the out-breath. And while resting with the experience of breathing, if you become distracted by thoughts, you can label those thoughts with the word thinking, which will allow the thoughts to go, and you can gently return back to the breath. And while resting with the breath, sensations arising from the nose to the abdomen to the nose. Allow awareness to expand to include sensations of clothing against the shoulders. You might notice the arms resting against the body, the hands resting against the body or touching each other. There might be sensations of clothing against the back, the weight of the body against the chair or cushion, mat or floor. You might notice sensations of clothing against the legs, the feet against the mat or the floor. And while resting with the breath and body, you might also notice sensations arising from the back of the neck. There might be sensations arising from the back of the head and the ears. You might notice sensations arising in the face, including the lips, the nose, the eyes. Allowing awareness to move through the forehead. Noticing any sensations arising from the top of the head. So we'll rest right there for a few moments, maintaining open, spacious awareness on the sensations of the breath, from the nose to the abdomen to the nose, and sensations arising throughout the body, from the top of the head to the bottoms of the feet. And again, if you become distracted by thoughts, simply labeling those thoughts with the word thinking, allowing the thoughts to go, returning back to the present moment. And while resting with the present moment, sensations of breath and body, allowing awareness to expand again to include any sounds which might be available. Depending where you are, you might hear perhaps the sound of bird songs or crickets. There might be the sound of a river or an ocean. Perhaps there's traffic passing by or a conversation in the distance. Not focusing on any one sound in particular, but noticing the entire field of sounds. Listening to the universe orchestrate the soundtrack of the present moment. And in addition to the sounds, paying close attention to the quality of still silence within the field of hearing. When we listen to the silent space, we might notice how that silence seems to surround the present moment. And so we'll rest right there, maintaining even, open awareness on the sensations of the breath and body, silence and sound, and just rest. Breathing in and breathing out. The poem. The great Sufi poet Rumi once wrote, "The wound is where the light enters us. With the healing eyes of non-judgment, allow the light of awareness to enter. Then the wound you suffer so may transmute into your greatest gift. For as you heal, you will notice others who suffer from the same wound, and you may help them to see with the same healing eyes of non-judgment." The commentary. We are all wounded in some sense. Each and every human being suffers, has suffered, and will suffer again. This is a natural part of the human experience. The suffering is not the problem. The real predicament is that most of us feel that when we do encounter suffering, that something is inherently wrong with ourself or the situation. We might think, "Oh, this doesn't feel good. I must have done something wrong." Or perhaps they did something wrong. We then expend great amounts of energy and resources in the vain attempt to escape the discomforts which have presented themselves, not recognizing that there is pain and discomfort etched into the very experience of life itself. We do not accept suffering as it is, on its own terms, which is really just another way of saying that we refuse to accept this experience called life. The state of non-acceptance only allows our wounds to become infected. We end up bleeding all over ourselves and others, baffled, bewildered, spinning out in pain or worse. Often we become so numb and unconscious to the whole catastrophe. We then proceed through life wounding strangers and loved ones alike as we spin out in our own blind confusion. I know that sounds pretty grim. It's the light is coming. The awareness and attention cultivated through the techniques of meditation, when employed with compassion and equanimity, can be like a powerful, brilliant beam of radiant light. Rest in the breath, allowing the mind, body, and heart to settle into the present moment. In that resting state, illuminate the wounds you suffer with the light of awareness and attention. When we do this, we may find our mind flooding with all different types of stories. Stories of how we wish things were different, or how we wish things were the way they used to be, or how we should have done X rather than Y, or whatever. Notice these stories. Notice how they cloud and dim the very light of awareness you are shining into those wounds. Then gently let those stories go and return back to the task of bringing awareness to the physical, visceral experience of the wound itself. You might also notice tension arising in the body, in the mind, or in the heart, while the stories are swirling and flooding the mind. That is all very normal. If you notice that happening, take a breath. Then take another breath. And then another breath. Allow your heart, mind, and body to return to the resting state. It is that resting which allows the radiant, warm, sunlight-like energy of awareness to shine into your wounds. Eventually, the blaming, the attacking, the suffering, the struggle inherent in those wounds becomes shrouded in the warm light of awareness and attention. This is the transmutation. This is where things often start to soften. The wound, the pain, the hurt will still be there, but our relationship to all of that begins to shift and change. A space around the hurt begins to develop. There is now room in our awareness for the wound, for the stories, for all of the pain and the sensations of the breath entering and leaving the body, the sensations of the clothing on our skin, the sunlight streaming in from the window, the sound of music from the neighbor's apartment. We can make room in our awareness for the entire present moment and holding the wound at the same time. Wisdom begins to arise when we open our awareness in that vast open space. When the stories begin to lose their tenacious hold on our heart, and that powerful light of awareness shines into the wound, free from fear, free from the closing down, free from numbing out, free from the shutting off which those thoughts previously precipitated, wisdom begins to arise. It is this wisdom which gives us the insight into how our fellow humans, our human family, all suffers in the same way. We can see clearly now how all of the unconscious, festering, infectious pains of our human family arise without turning away. All of that hurt, which naturally arises from the desire for the present moment to be different than what it is. Non-acceptance of the present moment is what gives rise to our suffering. It is through this understanding that we begin to cultivate wisdom, awareness, insight, compassion, equanimity, loving kindness, and joy. These qualities will then naturally radiate out from our hearts and affect others around us. It is in this process where we develop the skills to help others. Now we are ready. The Bodhisattva is born. And so I hope the guided meditation, the poem, and the commentary there. So in this commentary, in this poem, I was addressing or referring to a particular type of meditation practice. This comes from the Tibetan tradition, as most of my practices and teachings do. And in this practice, we go into the breath, the body, and the sounds, just like we did here in this episode. And then while resting there in the breath and the body and the sounds, we invite any sort of troubling emotion that we might be experiencing. This can be done through a visualization. That's usually how it's done. So, for example, if we're experiencing anger, and that's becoming a real wound that's beginning to fester and bleed and cause a lot of trouble for us in our life, we can go to this meditation and we visualize an experience in our past that brought us anger. And so we allow the experience of anger to come up into the meditation practice. Now, often what happens is then the anger comes all the way in and we don't feel the breath in the body. We're not hearing the sounds anymore. We're just sitting there. I can't believe they did that to me. Why did they do that? Or I can't believe they said that. And then next time I see that guy, I'm going to punch him in the jaw. Whatever it is, whatever the stories are. So when and if that happens, we say to ourselves, that's just thinking. We let those stories go. And we come back to the breath and the body and the sounds. And then we invite the anger up again. Now the idea is to experience the breath and the body and the sounds and the anger at the same time. It's kind of a balancing, if you will. So holding in awareness the breath, the body. You don't have to be holding all of the body, but just some of the body. The experience of the body, noticing the clothing against the skin, perhaps just on your shoulders is fine. Noticing the weight of your body against your chair or cushion, noticing the feet against the floor, noticing the breath. That's really enough. Sounds, too, that's really a really great part of the present moment, and it allows awareness to be vast and open because now you're hearing your entire environment. You're feeling the body at the same time and maybe some of the breath. So your awareness is quite large there. Then when that anger comes up, if you can remain with the sounds, with the body, the anger comes up into your awareness is large enough to hold that anger. And so when the stories come again, I should have said this, I can't believe it went that way, I can't believe they did that, whatever it is, I'm going to call that guy up and swear him out. That's just thinking. We let that go. Feeling the actual physical experience of anger. What does this anger feel like in my abdomen, in my shoulders? Maybe my jaw is clenching. Maybe my shoulders are up like that. Maybe there's tension behind the eyes or in the throat. Those are all very typical, visceral, physical experiences of anger. So we experience the physical sensations of anger without the storyline. While feeling the anger in the body, we also hear the sounds at the same time, and we also feel some of the sensations of the body at the same time. That grounds us in the present moment, so we don't get swept away by the anger. So it is like a balancing. We're holding 50-50. You're holding the emotion, the physical experience of the emotion, and you're holding the breath, the body, and the sounds at the same time, like that. And it will be like a balancing. You'll feel the anger really coming up, and then you're losing awareness of the breath, the body, the present moment. Oh, I'm thinking. Let me feel. Then it's like that, hearing the sounds, and then coming back like that. Now, eventually, when you do that type of practice, you'll notice that you get comfortable with your anger. You're not reactive to that experience of being angry anymore. The anger can be there, but you're comfortable with that anger. It just arises then, and it passes. You don't have to express it by yelling, kicking, punching, screaming, shouting, and it back into the body. That repression also is very, very unhealthy for us. And so here we're cultivating the skill of being able to rest in the experience of, here in this example, being angry, but any emotion that arises. That keeps us from being reactive to the present moment and allows us to be responsive in the present moment. Like that. Now, I know when I talk about it like this in just a short segment, I make it sound dead easy, but arguably it's really can be quite a challenge. And so, again, I recommend guided meditations on my website under Working with Challenging Emotions. They're all for free there. I think there's 3 or 4 guided meditations there. I also outline this practice in detail in an article that I had published on my published articles page on the website. It's also in my book, Chapter 11 of Such Sweet Thunder, dealing with challenging emotions. So it all outlines this practice in great detail. And this is a delicate practice. So if you are going to embark on this journey of working with your emotions, go slow. If you're dealing with something, if you have some emotions you want to deal with or you want to practice with, start light. Start with something like desire for a candy bar, or desire for, there's lots of desire these days, desire to be able to go outside. Meditate with that desire. That's something pretty light. So there we're not using something that's really wounding us, but we're still working with an emotion that's quite present, right? So that really helps. We can start light with this type of practice. And again, keeping the balance between the emotion and the present moment awareness, and then working through it like that. Also helps to have a good qualified teacher, and if there are any questions or comments about this that you might be working with, please do send those over. Happy to answer those. I do a Q&A on Sunday nights, but if you want the questions to remain private between yourself and me, that's fine as well. I don't need to broadcast the questions, and I never say anybody's name anyway. So there's that too. I always respect everyone's privacy. So I offered this evening because I think there are a lot of challenging emotions in the world right now. And so I hope that can help. I really do. And that is really my intention here. I'm not here trying to booster my clientele roster. Although if you are interested in one-on-one sessions, I am available. I'm not here to try my website or my books. In fact, I'm giving my books away. If you send me your email address, I'll send you a PDF. So I'm not here trying to sell anything or promote myself. I'm really very interested in helping. And so this is my small contribution. And just want to say also, I appreciate all of the contributions. When I scroll through Facebook these days and Instagram, it's so rich. There's people offering trivia. There's people dancing these crazy dances and people dancing really beautiful dances. I saw a few of those today. There's yoga. There's all kinds of meditation offerings. There's poetry, like what I'm doing, but other ones that are different than me. There's so much people singing karaoke, or people, musicians offering their music. So wonderful that many people are using this platform to help get us through this very, very difficult, trying time. And for those of you who aren't doing anything and just watching, observing, taking it all in, thank you for being a lovely audience. We need us people giving the offerings need people to receive it. So it works as like a yin-yang thing. So thank you for being there to receive. That's all I want to say tonight. That's it for episode 22. I'll be back again for episode 23 tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Again, hope you all enjoy. See you there.